Welcome to the Got Her Back podcast. We're here with Gentry, and she is with her podcast, which is Addicted to Quitting, which I'm super excited about because I can totally relate. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I started a podcast. It's called Addicted to Quitting, and it's all about quitting things that no longer serve you. So it wasn't just like alcohol, like we've talked about, like my addiction, but I talk about also like quitting my marriage, like making that decision, quitting like my job and deciding to like live more in like a purpose-driven life, and like just like mindsets, like mental breakdowns and like crying too much and all these things. Like how do we take the steps to actually be a better person? And a lot of times it's like quitting something that no longer serves us.
Awesome.
I cry a lot. Is that a mental breakdown for me? Probably.
You're just really in touch with your
Is that what that is?
emotions, I would say.
I do cry a lot, though.
I cry a lot too. It's like when I'm frustrated, that's just like how I like have an emotional release. So I don't think crying's bad. I just think
I have an aunt, her name's Aunt Louise, and she cries all the time. Like she'll just cry like when she sees you or when she says goodbye. And so I tell her all the time, I'm like, damn it.
Oh. It's okay.
Is that this?
Well, just I owe you our tape.
It's our swear jar,
Like,
Gentry,
Aunt
okay?
Louise, I have nothing in common with you, but now I've got what you have. And I cry as an adult, like I cry all the time.
Which is very interesting because I was always like that. And now I can't even like squeeze a tear out, really. unless I'm really, I don't know, it's just very rare. Or frustrated.
Do you feel like that's like you get numb to things, so you just like stop crying?
I think
over
so.
it?
I think I just had a crazy couple of years and cried all the time, through divorce and just all kinds of different things going on. And I think I don't think I have many. I don't know. It's so funny because my boyfriend now is like, his goal is to try to make me cry like happy tears. And he's done like the sweetest things. Like he's had a song written for me and like done all these huge gestures, and he's like waiting. I think that makes it harder because I'm like,
I don't cry like that though. Like that almost makes me uncomfortable when things like when people do nice things for me, it's like, thank you. Like I'm like more awkwardly.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to be like really emotional about that. I'm more just like frustrated or overwhelmed.
Yeah, like a overwhelming. That's
Gentry, you're from Washington, right?
Yeah.
What brings you to D-Town?
So I'm going to Trent's event.
Okay.
And then
Who's Trent?
Trent Shelton. I'm just kidding. You guys might know him.
I sure don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I like
single.
Ready to mingle? Oh, just kidding.
I like stalked him for a while. No, like not, this is like awkward now, but no, so I like, when I got sober, I followed some of his stuff, and then I was like, I want to be a speaker. Like that is what I want to do. Like that's what it feels like is like in my heart what I'm meant to do. So I like would reach out to him and other speakers, and I was like, I want to speak. I want to speak on the same stages as you. And I like literally would like randomly message him that like throughout for like 3 years. And then he was like, well, let's talk. And then we Zoomed, and he like offered to like kind of give me help and advice on speaking. And so that's what kind of brought me here is connecting with Trent. But then I was going to be here, and I'm like, if I'm flying somewhere, like getting away from all my children, then I should like make the most of it. So I reached out to like Sober in Dallas, and we set up like a sober meetup, and then we're going to do a sober hike on Sunday. So I wanted like actually get as much as out of the weekend, and like reach out to you guys like, hey, do you guys want to do a podcast? But I just like, when I leave town, I'm like, try to get as much in as I possibly can before I go home.
You're from a small town?
Super small town.
I'm from a small town. Yeah. How big is it?
Like, I think we're at like 3,000 people.
Oh, same.
So everybody knows your business.
Oh, everybody knows.
How many red lights you got?
One.
Oh, shoot, you got me beat.
Yeah, it's down by the freeway, though. It's down by the freeway. It's like not even in the town. It's like for travelers coming through.
Tell us more about that sober meetup. Like, what's that all about, and the sober hike?
So it's just people that are sober connecting. And like I when I got sober, I had like this really unhealthy vision of what people in sobriety look like. And it was like, you had to fall down drunk, like losing your job, losing your kids, losing your family, like peeing your pants, which I did all those things at times. But but it was like, I still kept my job. I was a CPA. I was going to work every day.
You're functional.
I was, and I was like drinking in my, like having hidden bottles in my closet. And, just like dying, but like nobody knew. And I'm like, there's nobody that is actually successful that's an alcoholic. And it's like, that is the furthest thing from the truth. Yeah. Like there's so many people that are doing so many amazing things that don't even talk about being sober. Like you're seeing so many more people talk about like that they're just took a break from alcohol. So I like connecting with other communities because like you do see like there was a therapist there last night. There was somebody studying for their MBA. There was somebody that just got out of rehab. So it was like a variety of people. But it's like we all had that same thing in common of like we choose to not drink alcohol.
But addiction is not like the whole, like the crazy addiction, because everybody has different levels.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of like, where is
Yeah,
Like I feel like everybody that decides to get sober, and I could be wrong, has that moment of like a rock bottom moment or just some kind of crazy epiphany. So what was yours?
I was drinking. I was trying to quit. So I have 4 kids, and I had just had my twins. And the first year of their life was like not good. I was just off and on binging and was out of control and was already like on my way out of control. But I was like stopping. And then once I would drink again, I would kind of go on these like long binges because it was like, okay, the next time I stop, I'm going to really stop forever again. So the binges were getting worse and longer. And
You're like, this is my last shot. I got to get it all in.
Make it count. Like, that's exactly
I've been there.
And so I was on one of my make it count binge. And then I went to work and went to a work lunch and we had margaritas at lunch. And I actually already had a water bottle with vodka in it. So as everybody else is getting like a tiny buzz from margaritas, I was like over the edge. So I end up leaving work and I go home and I pull into my garage and I just started like contemplating if I like shut the garage and let like the car run and I just fall asleep, would my kids be better off with me not in the picture or watching me as a train wreck? And I don't remember leaving the car. I don't remember going inside. I don't remember going to bed. I just remember waking up the next morning and being like, the next time I drink, I might follow through on that.
Yeah. Wow.
Rough.
Dang. Had you ever had any type of suicidal like ideation before that?
Yeah, like I feel like that came up in my drinking and like my early teens, or not early, teens, kind of like early 20s, and just kind of always kind of felt like I was on this roller coaster, but it was like a very like, I kind of like describe it as like sitting in my car and being like tied down by like vines, like a Jumanji feeling. Like I was just like, just drowning. Like there was I couldn't move. There was nothing else I was going to be able to do to overcome this. Like I had lost all my hope that I was going to get sober. And I think that was like the deepest I've ever felt. And then for some reason, like losing all that hope is what finally was like, well, maybe we need to just stop drinking. Like
It's so true. It is.
So did you just do cold turkey or like?
Do you have any advice for that or like things that helped you?
Community. I think community is huge. So I started a community too. I have like a community, we call it the Quitters Club.
You have a community? Cool.
Is it online?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's all online.
The Quitters Club. I like that.
There's just a bunch of quitters in there. And I
Say y'all are quitters.
We are.
That's like addicted to quitting. I like the idea of like removing stuff. Like, okay, I'm going to quit things that aren't serving me. So like a twist on quitting. We're not just like giving up.
Yeah, I love that. So you leaned on your community, and then did you feel like it was a long process of crawling out of that? Like, because I just remember like whenever I became sober, I would think about it all the time, and then just slowly I would think about it less, and slowly think about it less, and but I also think I slept for a really long time.
Yeah, there's so much that has to like reset after. So I went to AA actually at first and did AA every day on my lunch break. My work kind of knew something was up because I just left work that day. So I kind of had to be like on my best behavior at first, which helped. But then once I started like having more days under my belt, I just got more comfortable with sobriety. But AA was big until I like started blogging because I'm like creative and like I like to do social media and I wasn't doing any of that. Like I went to school I got pregnant at 21, had my baby, moved back home, went to school, got my accounting degree, like was like following all the boxes to like take care of and provide, and wasn't doing anything like that I truly loved doing.
Yeah.
And so I started doing little like hobbies. So I was doing a blog at that time. And I blogged like I took a break from alcohol. Do
you still have that blog?
I probably somewhere.
Somewhere.
But it was super vanilla. It was just like I'm just going to take a break because alcohol doesn't serve me. And it's like
Hey,
no,
it's like a small step.
it was though. And then like people started reaching out, and I think that was like, oh wow, there's other people. And then I kind of shared a little bit more and a little bit more. And as like my social started to grow, it was like that somebody needs to be a voice for this.
Yeah, and it's just like you notice how many people are just waiting on you to come up and be like, "Hey," and then they're like, "Oh wow, they're relatable." And I think Meg loves to blog, and that is like one of her things that she loves to do when she's struggling or going through something. And I think that people really relate to you or whenever you do
lately,
that.
just because we both have been going through a divorce in the last year, but just even in the last week after our last podcast dropped, I've had like 3 or maybe 4 women either text me, like one was a former client, one is in the insurance community, just saying like, your writings have helped me so much. And that makes it just like, makes me feel like, okay, there are women that need help. You know what I mean? Because like you're in a small community, you have 3,000 people there. So to know that you could have friends online, like I had a stillborn and it's kind of taboo to talk about stillbirth. And so I made friends from all over the country that some of them I've never even met. In fact, one just had her rainbow baby like 2 weeks ago. And she hid it online like how I did with Spencer. And I keep telling her, like, when are you going to post that you had the baby? Like she didn't even say she was pregnant. So she's like, well, I'm just enjoying her right now. So it's just super cool. Those kind of friendships and that you can make, because you're going through something similar and it can help you get to the other side of it, which is really cool to see.
And it's very interesting that like just little things that we all have these issues, right? But we carry so much shame, especially with alcoholism, drug addiction, any kind of addiction. We just carry all this shame, but it's like the more that you talk about it, what I've noticed, the more you talk about it, every single person can relate.
Yeah.
I mean, because I have a business to where I talk to women every single day, and we go to those places sometimes. Sometimes I'm with them for 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. And every single person has somebody in their family or somebody they know or themselves or a sibling. We're all intertwined. I mean, we all have the same thing. It's just we all like to
Don't you think that's what I love about social media is finding people like kind of like you said, your community, your tribe that's going through the same motions that you are, because it's kind of hard going to the people that you know, honestly. So I feel like that's the best thing about social media is, just finding people that are not vulnerable. I don't want to say that, but like just sharing more of your vulnerability, just so you could help people who don't have that voice.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, and that's what I was like, okay, God gave me this voice that I like to use all the time because I'm a talker. So like it's for a reason. Like I might annoy some people, but some people don't have a voice like that. Like some people can't articulate their feelings or can't like feel comfortable talking about it, but then it's helpful for them to be able to like from the background watch and see that. So like, and like you guys were talking about the divorce, like talking about my divorce, like a lot of people actually that follow me aren't just for recovery. It's like that I just share openly about everything that I'm going through. So like the obstacles going through the divorce after I got sober, and like parenting, like being a single mom with 4 kids for a couple of years, and like all of that, and just like your mind's like just connecting people of like how I'm getting through it and
Right.
spreading that positivity instead of just like I feel like my first reels that went viral were like being toxic about it. And so now I'm like, okay, I want to spin this. Be like,
In a
how can I,
positive way.
like, how can I share this in a way that's like gonna inspire someone else to also get healthy or get better or work on themselves.
But what you need to, sorry.
Go
Karen.
ahead.
No, but what you got to realize too is like there's people at every part of that journey. And like there's women that are trying to get out of a marriage. You know what I mean? They're trying to get out, they're trying to get sober. And then you've got people that are like, okay, they've taken the first step. And so I wouldn't like so much stress like, oh, I was being toxic about it, because there's somebody in that spot right where you were at this moment, the same as you, and they're going to feel that. So don't feel bad about that, because that is what's going to help get somebody over the hump. I've talked about it earlier, but I had a lady, she's a good friend and she's getting out of a marriage, and she reached out to me. So I'm just like trying to check up on her, like, hey, how you doing today? How's it going? And she's like, it's rough. It's tough. And I'm like, it's going to be tough for a while. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough. But when you get on the other side, she's like, Megan, you just look so happy. And I'm like, because I'm on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Don't think I didn't have very dark days to get, you know what I mean? Like it was so dark.
I saw a picture of myself from last year at this time, and I was like, oh my gosh, you can tell I was just like so stressed out, just going through it, which is why I dragged my feet on divorce for so long, because you're like, I don't want to have to do, you're thinking of all these things like I'm going to have to move and split up my kids and hurt and cry and fight
And share time.
split and you know what I mean? And you see all these huge like things in front of you and you're like, not today, maybe next week, you know? And I used to do that. I mean, I filed for divorce 2 times before I actually like went all the way through it because I would just kind of like, I didn't want to go all the way through that. So I saw a picture and I was like, wow. And then I think about women that come in my studio all the time that I've known for years. You know, I've known them for like 12 years. And just looking at them going through the divorce, you know what I mean? Like, it just takes such a toll on you. And then seeing them, like you're saying, on the other side, glowing, excited, happy again about life. And, you know, I love that about the journey, but it was just such a hard thing. So I love that, like, we can all share those things and relate to people. Cause I had a lady just come in the studio yesterday and she was like, I've been listening to all y'all's podcasts and I love that y'all all have a different view and a different personality and y'all bring so much to the table. And she was like thanking me and stuff, but it's like, sometimes you don't think anybody's listening, right? But they all relate, like you said, to different parts of the journey. Some people relate more to yours or to mine or to yours. So I like where you can find that community. But back to being sober, I feel like sometimes people like can judge me because I drink, but I never liked alcohol. So how do you feel about that? Like, I'll have a drink, like one or so, but I can't really drink past that because I don't really like alcohol.
I don't think I've ever seen you like.
Because I love drugs, so, you know. So I like that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's funny because, like, you'll see people that get really addicted to pain pills, and it's just because it does that to them. Like, for me, pain pills make me throw up and go to sleep. And so I'm not going to like that. You know what I mean? Alcohol makes me not feel very good. You know what I mean? So I think it's just however your body reacts and how you tend to like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my first question. I have another one too.
Okay.
So that's my first question is like, what do you think about that? I try to tell people like, this is your own journey. Like, I don't care that anybody thinks that, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh, I'm sober. To me, I'm sober because but I still might have a drink if I go to dinner or whatever. But I haven't touched a drug since I was 22 years old. So that to me is 21 years, you know, that's a big accomplishment for me because I love it and loved it. Love it.
I don't know if you guys have heard,
Do y'all hear
but
me? Do y'all know?
you might like it a little.
So to me, that's a big accomplishment. And I think you just have to decide what is important to you because you hear about sober curious, you hear about all these things and people judging those things. But I think it's just what is affecting your life. That was affecting my life. Clearly, I couldn't hold down a job. I wasn't a good parent. You know, I was a terrible person. You know what I mean? So that to me, eliminating that was fine for me.
Yeah, and that's why I always feel like I talk bad about AA, but I don't. I really like AA. It's a great community.
I love AA,
and it's like it's really good, and it helps so many people. But the kind of the principles in there is very like your time start like people have told me from AA like you're not sober for 6 years, you're sober for 4 years because you had that 3-hour lapse.
You know, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I was like, but those 2 years,
Celebrate the win.
Yeah,
The
but you still those 2 years count.
Yeah, I was like, they don't just get erased. Like,
And those are probably the hardest years.
Yeah, like I was like, I was doing all that work so that I could stop after those 3 hours, and I didn't go back to my binges, and I didn't go back to all that. So I think I agree with you. I feel like it's like a journey, and that's why it's like I don't care about time. I don't care about like that stuff. I care about like what are you doing to remove things that aren't serving you.
And be a better person.
And be a better person. Yeah. So like if it's alcohol that was never an issue and you can have that occasionally, then have alcohol. Like I actually just did an interview on my podcast with my ex-husband's new wife. Who? Ooh. Yeah, we get along. I hate her. No, just kidding. Just kidding, Haley. You're listening. No, she got sober actually 2 years ago. And she reached out to me and like being able to trust me with that information too. She's like, I'm sober curious. Like, I really think I want to quit. And then on my podcast, she talked about how like she still does like the CBD gummies and stuff sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, but I don't know if that's allowed. I'm like, it's allowed. You're allowed to do whatever you want. Like it's your
like
journey.
You make your own rules.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, yeah, it's your sobriety. It's your everything. Like this is your life that you get to decide how you want to live it. Like you don't have to follow the rules of AA or follow the rules of anybody else's expectations. So I think that's how like if people approach addiction like that, it might take away some of that like shame and pressure to be like perfect with it.
Yeah, the perfectness. My second question is, do you think addiction is genetic?
Oh, that was my question too.
Because this is my take on it. My mom has 4 siblings, so there's 5 of them total. They're all don't drink, smoke. They're just very like straight laced. Dean, on the other hand, we call him Dirty Dean. He has 8 brothers and sisters. There's 9 of them, and I would say, I'm probably going to get it wrong, but 6 or 7 had addiction problems really bad, and then that has trickled to my siblings, cousins, all that. It's everywhere. So I always wonder, like, is it more environment? Because the environment is different too. Like the environment is different on that side as well, like the upbringing and the environments that we were in. We were around huge parties with drugs and alcohol and all that from the minute we were like walking, not on that side. So I'm wondering if there is something to that being genetic or not.
Well, scientifically, yes. There is an alcoholic's brain does respond differently to stimulus. It's it's a dopamine,
Which is kind of what we were talking about before, with the way your body like.
Yeah, so there is some genetic aspect to it, but I think that environment also plays a role, and how quickly you're able to overcome it too. I think environment's huge, because that breaking point, that I call it kind of like a pain threshold. Like if I hit a point of so much pain that I was finally willing to make a change.
Yeah.
Where people that have been through really traumatic things, or they've seen really traumatic things, or they've seen a lot of chaos, their pain or acceptance for that is going to be, their tolerance is going to be a lot higher than somebody that was raised in like more strict, more like
Pick me.
they pick me.
Yeah, that's me.
But yeah, when you're like raised in like a really good environment, like my parents are both teachers. My dad was a basketball coach. They got divorced when I was in middle school, which was probably like my most like sensitive
Traumatic.
age. But they like nothing bad happened, and I still struggled with addiction.
Yeah. Do you have addiction in that line?
In the family, yeah, both sides have not like everybody's an alcoholic, but there is that addictive. And my dad doesn't drink, but my dad's like super obsessive about like pickleball or something.
Just like an obsessive personality.
Addiction is not just drugs. And alcohol.
No.
We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
It's social media. It's work. It's money. It's
Porn.
that gym. It's shopping. It's, we talked about being addicted to Amazon and Target. Like addiction
Sex.
can come. Girl.
Well, it is. I'm just saying everything you can be addicted to.
So true.
I'm just saying.
Well, and I think that everybody has a level of that in some aspect.
Yeah.
Like everybody kind of can get hypersensitive to certain things, or like
We can't all skate by without
nobody's
that, right?
Let me chime in on that one, because I think it's, I don't know, I'm not a scientist, so I couldn't tell you if
You're
it's
not a scientist?
Nope,
What
I'm
the
not.
hell? Get out.
I know, so I can't tell you if it's really genetic or not, but I ran my entire life, and I've talked about that. Like, so Gentry, both my parents committed suicide. So it was like I was running from like the boogeyman in the closet my entire life. And I've went through so many traumatic things, and I kept just thinking like, and I've battled with anxiety and depression my entire life. And so like, just kind of go through in waves. And I just was like, I don't want to wake up one day and be like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that to happen. And I went a long time, 46 years. I'm 47 now. In March, I woke up. I had a really bad week. I had I had a bad reaction to some
Medication.
antidepressants, and it just like sent me on a spiral. And then my ex, like, super, like, he could figure out, like, was I on a spiral? And if so, then he was gonna like double down on
He would
that.
push the
he would
buttons that
just
he
like
knew
make
worked.
it, and make me spiral even worse. And so, but I'm owning it because it's me and my mind or whatever. But I just that was probably my rock bottom in my divorce. But I never had ever woke up and thought like, this is the day, like, and I did. And so then I was like, but it scared me so straight that I'm like, I'm never going to get off my antidepressants or my anxiety meds ever again. Like, I'm going to take it like religiously, like a vitamin. And I'm happy to say that I haven't missed a day. I won't.
She tagged us in and said,
Yeah.
if we ever, to make her like take that every day, or take her to the doctor, or make her go to the doctor.
Yeah, or if I
Because
get off,
I was
like,
so
yeah.
worried like about you at that point, and we were on spring break. I think we were in Broken Bow.
Yeah.
I was trying to get her to come. I'm like, just come here, like sleep. We'll take care of you. Like she she just kept saying, like, I don't want y'all to have to see this or be around this or be subjected to this or whatever. And we just wanted to be there for her, but she, like, wouldn't let really anybody be there for her. I just felt like I was calling you, like, a million times.
It's okay.
But
It was good. I mean, it was good that, I mean, you did. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I didn't tell, like, I finally had to go to my staff and be like, I can't come to work today and I won't be there tomorrow. Like, I, like, tried, but, like, I didn't eat for several days. I lost 7 pounds in like 3 days. I mean, I was a wreck. It was my daughter's birthday. I had a panic attack at the mall, like trying to take her to just like go to Build-A-Bear, you know, like I was a wreck. And I mean, so it just, I get that. So it's like, sometimes that can be like your defining moment, right? Because the thing that I have been scared of my entire life, like I don't ever want to have those thoughts. And then I did. So then I was like, what in the world? Like, this is what and it scared me. I mean, it scared me probably worse than I even thought. For 46 years, it was going to scare me when it happened, you know? So I get it. Like, sometimes it takes something really traumatic to happen for an addict for them to, you know, get in line and be like, okay, I need to buckle up and do
same.
whatever.
Same. I started dabbling with drugs at 13 or 14. And
She OD'd.
And I just kept thinking I was invincible and thought it was hilarious. But it was more like, I like this feeling because I don't have to think about other stuff. So then I just lived in that. I was like, I'm just going to live here, you know, until I overdosed. And then it was like, I just remember that, like, it's just like, wow, you know you could die, right? You think it, people tell you, but when it almost happened, you're like, oh my gosh, I have a child. I have, just like you're saying, like, I have a child. What would have happened to him? Or what, you know, how would have everybody thought, how would my mom be? You know? So I can relate to that.
Like, you were talking about it, and you said that you were still a parent. I mean, you were going through your addiction while parenting. Like, how did that go?
Oh, it was, I think that like my oldest son starting to understand what was happening was probably a huge factor too. Cause he was 7, then the next one was 4. And then the twins were 1 when I finally got sober. So he, started to like make little comments and like I remember like being drunk and standing, like going up to the door and kind of like stumbling to the door and him just looking at me with these eyes of like, I don't trust you. And like, it was that moment was like, because I think that that's like healthy. Like kids like learn that your parents aren't perfect. Like I want them to see that I'm not perfect, but it was like, he knew that he couldn't fully trust me. And
He didn't feel safe.
No, he didn't feel safe. And then later and I'm going to have him on my podcast. He said he'd come talk about it. But I get all excited.
How old is he now?
It's not an exciting thing. It's sad, but he's 13. He's almost 14.
Aw, yeah.
But he was like, you used to always say yes. I was like, isn't that a good thing? He was like, no, like parents aren't supposed to say yes to everything. Like so like mature of him at 7 years old to like think like, no, you're not setting boundaries. And the fact that I wouldn't set boundaries with him, like he didn't feel safe. And I think him being able to see me for where I really was hard. Because when they're 3 or 4, you could get away with drinking and like, oh, it's just fun. This is what mommy and daddy do.
But you know, you and him will always have a special relationship. You know what I mean?
You were going through that.
Because I was with my oldest, and me and him just have such a different
Bond.
relationship because he's seen me at my worst. He's seen me at my best. Like, we're more like friends. You know what I mean? And then my younger ones, which there's 11 years between all of them, they don't know that version. So they just know this version where he gets all of that. You know, he's seen everything. So he's accepted all of it. He knows everything. And I'm like, I always tell him, it builds character.
You're gonna be, I'm sorry. I'm like, he's probably going to be the one that, so do you feel like that he will be, because he saw the dark side, it actually will help him?
I think it will.
He is such a good kid.
I think
Well,
it
he's
will
not a kid.
because he's 20. Well, he's 24 now, which is wild. But we've always had such a great open line of communication because I think I had struggling issues because at some points my parents were way too strict. Like, well, I was from divorce. So one side was very, very, very strict where you couldn't do anything. And my dirty dean, we could do anything. Yeah. So it's just like I manipulated them back and forth depending on what I wanted at the time. And so I kind of got both. So whenever he started getting older, I started getting very nervous, like 13, 14. I just really started struggling, like, is he going to try drugs? Is he going to be an addict? Is he going to, but I also didn't want to, you know, compromise his innocence either. So it was just, I just started reading books and just trying my best doing therapy and just asking for advice. And me and him, basically, it's just, I talked to him like a normal person. And I remember whenever he was maybe 16 or 17, and I finally was like just completely open about everything. Like, I don't know if you knew what was happening at that point, but this is what was happening. I'm an addict, blah, 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 blah. He really didn't know like I thought he would, the extent he kind of did. I think he was in denial a little bit too. But now we have those great conversations where I'm like, look, this is where I've been. Like, I'm not being hard on you, but if you ever get in this situation or if you ever want to do anything. And I think that it stressed me out more knowing fentanyl's on the scene.
Yeah.
And so when that started happening, then because we didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
We could do whatever.
No,
I mean, not we could do whatever. But
we do so many drugs, and
I could do so. No, I sound really bad.
It was so
but
safe back then to do
it
drugs.
was not, but it was not to the extreme that it is now. Yeah. And
it's
so
terrifying.
now I'm like harping, you know, now I'm trying to have all these conversations with him. And now my other son is 13, and I'm like really trying to talk to him like, don't even take a Tylenol, don't take a Xanax or whatever, because there's children dying. And it's more like me just having really open conversations with them. And it's served really well. And another thing was I allow him to just be an individual, you know? So if he's wanting that independence when he got like 17 and he's living in the house and all that, it was like, as long as you're doing right, as long as you're communicating, as long as I have your location, I'm cool with whatever you want. Not whatever you want to do, but I'm open to it. I'm not trying to be a tyrant over you, because that always made me feel trapped too. So, and you know, I always think about like Maddox, she's a girl. So is it going to be the same for her? You know what I mean? Am I going to be just as,
I only have boys, but I can't imagine like,
I want to be fair, you know, but it did serve really well with him because he would always communicate with me. And one time he took an edible and he was like 17 and he called me, you know, he actually did call me. And I actually read one time, this is always stuck in my head, if you tell your children that they can count on you and tell you anything, like you can call me and tell me anything, because I'm going to be the one that takes care of you. Because when I overdosed, my friends were too scared and they didn't go get help. They sat there and looked at me, you know what I mean? Until I came back around and they called people and stuff, but they didn't take me to a hospital. They didn't do, you know, probably what we should have. I just got really lucky. So they say, if you say that to your teenagers and your kids, you can call me about anything. You have one shot. You have one chance when they do it to have the reaction that's going to allow them to do that again.
To trust it, yeah.
And so that always stuck in my mind that, okay, I have one chance, you know? So when he did call me, my knee jerk was like, what the, you know, like, are you crazy? You know,
But
because, you know, you just thinking that, but you have to be like, okay, where are you? What was going on? How you feel? I'll be right there. Like, no matter what, you just have to keep it together. And then, like, everybody knows, we talk about this all the time, I'm non-reactive, though. So I would think that would be harder for some parents. Like, it will be harder for her versus me, because I will hold it for weeks and really process.
And then cry about it later.
and really, I try to go like 15 steps ahead of time. Like, okay, you know, what's going to happen? But some people aren't like that. But you really have to think that, because then your kid, you know, might actually be in a bad situation, never, ever, ever.
And be
reach out
afraid.
to
Yeah,
you.
they'd be afraid to call. I mean, my mom would say, come get me. You'll get in trouble. Like, she told me, like, oh, you'll get in trouble, but you'll be safe. I'm like, I don't care about
But
safe.
you don't want to get in trouble.
I don't care about safe right now. I care
So
about
you
not
don't
getting-
even want to say that. You just want to be like, you can tell, I'm going to be
that's
your
what I was
person
like
in your
with
corner.
My kids, it's like, I will get you.
I'm going to be
Just
the one
let me
that's
know.
make sure that you're safe. Just call me. Like, that's all you got to do, no matter what. But, you know, are they going to? But they say they will one time.
I hope that's because, like, I feel like with my kids, I wouldn't say they're sheltered. They're just not around a whole lot of, I don't know what to say it, like chaos, I guess. I don't know. We've done a pretty good job of just being open with them. Like, we tell Tristan, like, hey, not that I want to be in your business, but we've gone through everything when we were younger. There's nothing that you want to do that we haven't done. So it's like, I would rather you be open with me and tell me rather than finding out when it's too late, you know? And so I just pray. I pray to God every day that happens, because I think about me as a child and what I could do. And I'm like, I wish that, you know, I had someone to like.
Yeah, with my kids too, I like the biggest thing you could do to piss me off is lie to me.
Yes.
Like I will, like I don't. If you did something wrong, like just bring it to me, and then we'll work through it. Like I will walk you through it. There might not even be a consequence, but like bring it to me. If you lie to me about it, though, it's like there's a consequence.
Yeah.
Like
I
lying
get
is one of the
infuriated about lies.
Lies
Oh.
like drives me absolutely crazy. And my kids, like, they'll break something and they'll tell me. Like they don't try to hide it. They don't try to like. So it's like I want like that same idea of like, if I'm not going to here to beat you up or to like get you in trouble or punish you. I just want to be able to work through things with
and
you
help you and be there for you and make sure that you're safe. Yeah, so true. I love
What's
that.
next, Gentry? What's the future look like for you? What's the future hold?
Well, speaking someday. We're still working towards that. And then I got engaged this summer. So
Let's see the ring. Tell us about him. How long have you been divorced?
Okay, so I got divorced right after I got sober. So we both drank together, we partied together, and I was really wanting to like change, and he wasn't fully ready to make that shift. And when I hit my rock bottom, I was like, either come with me or I'm done. And then I just kept going. Like it just kind of kept running. So about 6 months after I got sober, he moved out and we started like the process of divorce. And like we get along still great. Like it's like we parent for our kids, we co-parent, we're good, but like I just wanted different things and he wanted different things. Like our lifestyles were just not the same. And so I went to be single mom for a couple years, kind of dated, which was like a train wreck. No offense to the dating scene in your 30s and 40s. But it's just hard because it's like you do, like you guys are in the divorce or dating now process, like after or dating after divorce. And you're like, want to go in and be like, okay, how much like work have you done on yourself? How much healing have you done? Like, do you drink? Do you do drugs? Like, what's your
sober part would make it harder.
It does. And like my boyfriend before my fiance was sober too. He never drank in his whole life, which was just kind of cool, but there's other issues. So this one though, we met on a plane. I actually was going to Arizona to meet the other boyfriend at the time. I know.
Shane.
So juicy. Okay. No, but nothing happened or anything. But we met and he was like, oh, I'm a contractor. And he lived like 20 minutes from me. And I was like, oh, I have Airbnbs. We exchanged numbers. But like instantly there was like something, but I was like on my way back from this trip with the other boyfriend. And then the other boyfriend broke up with me right after that. And so I was like, hey, my faucet's leaking. Can you come fix it? And then we've been together ever since. Like,
Oh
there
my
you go.
gosh, you met him on a plane?
On a plane.
Where was he from?
He's from Washington, where I'm
cool.
at. Like he lives with me now, but he lived like 20 minutes from me.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not all snakes on a plane, right?
No. Well, we were like trying. Well, it was
Just kidding. That's maybe.
But we were like chatting. He's sober, so he was like, I was like, oh, I'm
nice.
sober, and I have a sober page, and blah 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 blah. And then he was like, I'm sober too. And then like it was just like we had a lot of things in common that it was kind of cool.
That's really
So
cool.
quick question. I mean, you talked about how like you like connecting with people who are sober. I mean, I don't drink like that. I'll drink every once in a while. I would probably say like maybe a drink or two a month. But how, like, do you judge people?
No.
No, I'm not judge, but like
I am judging you so hard right now.
No, but like
I think that's in your own head.
Yeah.
Because you're in the public
feel like
eye.
maybe,
and I think it's in y'all's head too. This is an outsider looking in. Like, nobody cares if you're California sober.
Yeah.
Nobody cares if like drugs were your issue and now you have a drink with me by the pool. Like, I've told you so many times, Carrie, like there's nothing you can tell me from your past. It's going to change the way I feel about you today. Everybody has a past.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't let that past define your future, you're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I love having a margarita.
Yeah. I have friends
I
that
just
still
can't
drink.
get drunk though, because getting drunk.
But the difference between you and her sitting next to me is they have an addictive personality,
I
unfortunately.
don't think
and
that,
they know that.
anybody really judges anybody.
No.
Like, if they're, I mean, I'm sure there's people that judge it.
I mean, I'm sure there's judgy
people,
Judies, but
Of course, but those aren't our people. Those
No.
aren't our friends.
there's not on our
right?
circle. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't really judge people that drink. if people are getting drunk, like we went to a concert the other weekend and like people were at the end of the concert were getting very intoxicated and like spilling drinks.
A little rowdy.
It was a little bit more rowdy. And then we just removed ourselves. Like it wasn't even like I judge you for doing that or whatever. It's just like I really don't want to smell like alcohol.
This is not my place.
I don't really this isn't our place anymore. So like I removed myself, but not because they're doing anything wrong. Like or I judge anyone for it. It's just kind of like
it's just not
I know,
your
when
environment.
We were in Vegas for that Usher concert. Like I loved Vegas when I was younger, but when I was there, like I don't know,
She was over it.
Like I just
It was like triggering you.
yeah. And I didn't want to go back to that part of my life, but I'm just like I see people stumbling around, and I wasn't judging them. It was just like, oh God, like
And
Remembering
also
yourself.
too, Maria, the longer you're away from an environment, just like she's saying, the longer you don't associate with those environments and people and things like that, the more sensitive you are to it. And it's not have anything to do with the people. It's just like, this is not my...
I'm just like not in that stage of my life.
Because you're like,
right
I've
now.
moved so far past this. And I think that this is something to be said about friendships too, like how we outgrow people and stuff. Like you can have a friend for your whole life and then, you know, you're around them and then slowly you're like, it's just not, and it's not to judge them or whatever, you send them love and whatever. It's just not your place anymore. It's not your relationship. It's not your person.
It's the same. We lost some friends when we went
Yeah,
through divorce.
sure.
It is what it is. Like it just when you go through different stages in your life, I mean, you find your people in the next stage. You know what I mean? And maybe the people today are not the people that were from yesterday, and that's okay. You know what I mean? You've got to surround yourself with people that are there for you during those moments that you know, like are going to be your people for what you got going on at that moment.
How is parenting and life sober versus before?
The beginning was very hard. And it's because you're so used to having that coping mechanism. So it's like the door needs to be open, but all I have is a freaking hammer and I don't know how to like get out and be like a normal human being. So my coping mechanism was always just to go to alcohol. And so it was like, I was stressed, I was overwhelmed, I was crying a lot, like just not able to regulate my emotions. But as I've continued like in my recovery and really like focus on my health and like my habits and routines and then like my mindsets, that's kind of like my 3 areas, then I was like, got better and things got easier. And like, I can be more present with my kids and I can just like go with the flow. Like alcohol, people think it relaxes you, but it actually like causes more anxiety. And so it's like, I was thinking I needed alcohol to relax, but really if I just removed it and let myself level out, like life really isn't that hard.
Yeah, it's true. That is so true because it is a depressant. And I don't think people think that because you're happy all of a sudden. But the crash and the depressant afterwards, it's like it magnifies that, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's with anything. Like my son, you know, can struggle with depression. I can struggle with depression. It's funny because anytime I take him to the doctor and she's like, okay, how are you? You know, because I used to have to go sit in there with him before he had a beard and all this stuff going on.
Before he had a beard.
And she would always run through like, are you going outside? Are you like getting any sunlight? Are you eating? Are you drinking water? It was literally, are you physically moving your body? And it would be like, no, no, no. And it was funny because as he's an adult, anytime he starts to feel that dark, we call it like feeling dark or whatever, he'll be like, hey, I'm feeling, you know, and sometimes he'll just say, you know, because we know each other. And I'll say the same thing. He's like, well, you know, no, I haven't. And so he starts running down. And I love that he's doing that in his early 20s. Yeah. He knows I need to go outside. I need to drink some water. And then he's completely better, you know? And I know that's not like that with everybody, but that just works really well for him. That works really well for me. Like I started walking a ton when I'm going through stuff. And every time I would go out on a walk, I would feel like so much better. And I tell people that all the time. Go on a walk. Like it seems so easy.
And it is so easy, but like, I mean, Megan probably could talk about this too. Like when you're in that moment though, when people are like, have you gone for a walk?
You feel pissed.
Like you want to just like punch them.
Yeah.
Because it's hard when you're in that.
It's funny that you said that because it's funny. Do you know what I'm about to say?
Yeah.
Because hers is different. And I think Megan's is more genetic from both parents and things like that. So hers is going to take a little bit more work. And I think that was one way that her buttons used to get pushed in her relationship was, have you taken your meds? Have you, or
if you look in the mirror and
if you just
smile,
look in the mirror
you'll feel
and
better.
smile, or have you drank water? You want to be like, fuck
You're crazy.
off,
Yeah,
you
you're
know?
crazy. You're just
Fuck
crazy.
off. Yeah. That's how you feel in the moment, right? That's how you feel in the moment. You want to look at me like, fuck, like, what?
Girl,
No, it's but they're fitting. They're good.
So that's what comes to mind when I think that, because you're like, seriously, like, that's going to push her buttons. That's not what works for her. Like, every single person is different. You know?
But you also have to know, like, the different person that's coming. But if you know that person actually wanted to help you, it probably wouldn't be more of an attack,
No,
Oh, of course not. But you're still going to be like, you're still going to.
You're still like, like when I was like really struggling, like, have you tried not drinking so much? I'm just like, yeah.
Why did I not think of that? You are so smart.
Yeah.
But even like, and I don't have like that as serious of a depression as you do, but I do get in like those funks, and I do know that like if I'm there and somebody's trying to offer me solutions, I just want to be wallowing in self-pity. Like, I don't really, like, it's hard to be like, I know that will work, or that might help, but I don't have the energy to even get up right now.
It's so true.
I think I just want people to not sit in their shame, right? Like, don't sit in their shame. I think people think like, oh, I can't speak up and say I'm depressed and I have anxiety because somebody's going to call me crazy. Well, hell, I was called crazy for 20 years. And look, I mean, it is what it is. That speaks more about them and their projections and about how they feel on the inside than it does about you. So don't sit in that. Don't sit in that shame if you drink. Don't sit in that shame if you used to be addicted to drugs. Don't sit in that shame and not speak up and speak out. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to be like, like obviously me and her are the same. Like, we can go on a social media platform and blog and do it that way, or you can be in your friend circle. You know what I mean?
It's
whatever
so nice
is good for
now,
you and your personality.
It's so nice, especially specifically in the last year, that Megan can read it like through a text message if I'm depressed. It's the craziest thing. Like, I don't say it in the text message. I don't know if it's the tone or less words or no emojis. I don't know what it is, but she will know. Like, or sometimes it won't be a text message. She'll just know. Gabe, like, that I, live with now, like, he will literally just know without me saying anything. Those are nice when people can just pick up on those cues and know you and check on you, and then you feel seen, like, and they want to be there for you. Not fix it, just check on you. So it's nice to have that circle that,
Your community.
Your community that knows.
It doesn't have to be family.
Yeah.
No.
And that's I would say is just find your tribe.
Yeah, for sure.
Which seems like you've done really well with that, making your own.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, it's been like such a good journey, and just like getting to be a voice for people that aren't as comfortable using theirs.
So how do people find your group?
So you can find it through my Instagram, Life with Gentry, or lifewithgentry.com. There's some more resources and stuff on there too.
Nice. That's awesome. How long have you had that group?
The group started about last year, I think, is what I've done a couple other little groups, but then I was like, when I started
need to
addicted to
focus on
quitting,
one.
addicted to quitting, and then like the Quitters Club, I'm just like, I just love the like negative words,
The spin on words.
spin on it, yeah. So we kind of
I
stuck
like
with
that. That's really cool.
Thanks
This
so
was
much
fun.
for coming to visit us.
Yeah, thanks for squeezing us into your schedule.
Thank you.
Your little flight here. Yeah.
Don't
I
meet
love
any
that.
other fiancés on the way home.
No, fiance. Like blinders. Of course, he's like all concerned now too. Oh, I met you on a plane, so no. Every time you're gonna go on a plane, you're gonna be like fishing. I was like, no, it wasn't like that.
That was fate. Come on. That was total fate, you know?
I was like, nothing happened. I was still like ending that other one. So,
And when's the wedding?
next September, I think.
Oh,
is what
nice. Is it small, big?
I think
What are
we're
you
gonna do
thinking?
smaller. I don't know. We haven't fully figured out
Yeah.
everything. We're just kind of looking at dates and trying to pick a venue.
Yeah.
And,
So you're not busy at all?
no, and he is moving in right now, and his son moved in with us, and then he has a daughter. So like we're like trying to navigate the
Brady
5
bunch.
kids. I know, like
Brady
we have
bunch.
5 boys in the house, and then we have the daughter part time.
I would say blending is the hard part.
Literally this morning he's calling me. He's like, "Where are the shirts?" And where is it? I was like,
That would be
Yesterday,
a good next episode. is one.
yes. Yesterday, Gabe was sending group messages to the girls with like videos of their rooms. Like, this light's on, look at this floor. I mean, it's just, and at first it's like, wait, are you picking on my daughter? And not, it's just defensiveness
is
and all
hard.
kinds of stuff that you work through and adjust. We had this huge adjustment period. Now we just kind of feel like it's like leveling out and everybody's kind of finding their groove. But that part, you don't realize it when you're in it, but that is a really hard part too.
Well, we actually started couples counseling in October last year. Like before we even had a problem. We had just started dating and we both were recovering alcoholics and we wanted to like
That's
have
awesome.
like a serious relationship. So we like started it before there was a problem and doing it all year, which caused probably more fights within the year.
Yes,
because
they
like we're
do.
talking about things, but we like fixed it early instead of it like now we hate each other after 5 years because we never
Resentment.
said anything.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
That's awesome. That's great advice. Well, I loved having
You
you
want to
here.
close this out?
Yes. First of all, we loved having you here. So, like I said, thank you. And follow us on Got Our Back podcast, inspired by Carrie,
Life with Gentry.
Mrs. Maria Shelton.
Meg's Unfiltered.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Don't quit.
Thank you. That
Or
was
quit
so
if you
fun.
want to.
Bye.
Bye.